Democrats, Republicans, Tea Partiers, independents, conservatives, moderates, and believers in the radical idea that is America. We all belong to one party this year, the Had Enough Party.
I don't know about that, Carly. We political reporters, we've never had enough.
And of course, the real question is, who did Demon Sheep vote for? Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News and Washington Post Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And the only thing better than Election Day is the day after, and it's twitter.com/thenode for all you need on that front.
I think that is such a truism. The day after is always so much better. Go for it.
Number one today, Comeback Blanche. A stunning victory for Senator Blanche Lincoln, who pulls it off against all the odds and all the odds makers against Bill Halsell, the Lieutenant Governor of Arkansas. She wins, and it's really a big win for an incumbent, a rare win for an embattled incumbent this year. Also, I think a big win for Bill Clinton. Coming off of Pennsylvania 12, he carries her across the finish line in Arkansas.
He called her and he said, "You are the new comeback kid," which of course was a way for him to pump up his own resume again, as Bill Clinton is wont to do. But you're absolutely right. He is a big winner in that race, no doubt about it. Labor pains now to the losers in that race. Labor unions and these left liberal progressive groups poured $10 million into Halter's candidacy to try to take down Blanche Lincoln. Now comes the question, Rick, is this money well spent to send a strong signal to moderate Democrats across the country, or is this throwing money away that is badly needed in what is a tough political environment for Democrats?
They picked a fight in a tough state to win, but if you're going to pick a fight like this and spend $10 million picking it, you better end up winning it at the end of the day. And people went into the day thinking that they'd pull it off. The fact that they didn't, it is a lot of folks have egg on their face to dump these kind of resources into a race that it really doesn't leave Democrats in a better or worse position at the end of the day.
You saw that senior White House advisor say that unions just poured $10 million down the toilet.
That's money that could have gone for the fall, for sure. In with the old. Two former governors who want their old jobs back are their party nominees. That's Jerry Brown in California and Terry Branstad in Iowa. They're two of five this year who like the corner office so much that they want it back. Some with different amount of time out of office. Jerry Brown, we're talking about 30 years as a former governor. It's not that good a job as governors across the country are learning these days, but these folks who want it back in a year where we see a lot of fresh faces. Some of the fresh faces are a little bit older and grayer, a couple more wrinkles, but a little recognizable. Governor
Moonbeam, no doubt about it. And tea leaves. Yes, our latest Washington Post ABC News poll shows that the unfavorable ratings for the Tea Party is on the rise. So we may have already seen the peak of Tea Party favorability to the broad electorate, but Sharon Angle catapults as the potential Reid Dragon Slayer. She wins that Republican nomination out in Nevada last night in the Senate battle. But now the big question for the National Republican Party is Sharon Angle, who has a starring role now this cycle going against Harry Reid, are her views what they want for the national face of the party?
That's right. And you look at Rand Paul, obviously, a couple weeks ago, and he took him a few days to kind of settle down at the end of that. Will be interesting to see as the professionals begin to take hold of that race, the national folks begin to try to train her a little bit as a candidate, whether we see a different kind of candidate in the general election.
Well, now we're going to talk to the guy who's going to manage that process of the professionals. Yeah, it's a well-done segue. We are joined by John Cornyn up on Capitol Hill. He's the senator from Texas that serves as the chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee this cycle. Senator Cornyn, thanks for being here. And let's begin with where Rick and I were just talking about the Nevada victory of Sharon Angle. She has called for the privatization of Social Security, the elimination of the Department of Energy, and she wants to cut back on some of these Wall Street reforms. Is this what you want as the starring face of the Republican Party this cycle?
Well, Nevada voters are, I think, going to have a referendum on Harry Reid. Harry Reid spent $10 million so far in his quest for re-election after 27 years in Washington, D.C. If people want more of the same, then I don't think they're going to support the Republican nominee. But if they want change, if they want an effective check and balance on single-party power that's given us runaway spending and debt, and a health care plan that is very unpopular in Nevada, then they'll vote for Harry Reid. But, my guess is they won't.
But that sounds to me like it doesn't matter who the nominee was, and you worked very hard to recruit the former chairman of the GOP there, Sue Loudon. You clearly thought it mattered who was the nominee, and now your answer sounds like, oh, it doesn't matter who the Republican is.
Well, we have to respect the right of primary voters to select our nominee. I certainly do. And now that they've spoken, we were solidly behind Sharon Angle. And I'm confident that, of course, in the most recent public opinion polls, she's actually leading Harry Reid. So I don't think this is any day for Harry to be giddy or popping champagne corks, I think he's in very deep trouble.
What is your takeaway from Arkansas, where Blanche Lincoln was able to survive? Does that suggest to you that she's got a base of support that's going to work in the general election, or are you eager to now run against the incumbent senator as opposed to Bill Halter?
Well, I congratulate Senator Lincoln for standing up against $10 million of special interest money to take her out in the primary. Her problem, though, is she ran hard left. She ran on the health care bill, which is enormously unpopular in the state. 65% of the public in Arkansas disapprove of it. And this is a state that Barack Obama did not do well in 2008. I think John Bozeman will be the next United States Senator from Arkansas come November.
Do you think that Arkansas is your best pickup opportunity in the country?
Well, I think we've got a number of them, thank goodness. I think North Dakota, Delaware, Illinois, Colorado, California. I mean, I think we have a lot of opportunities. One of our challenges is I think there are going to be so many states in play, and the public is so upset with the status quo in Washington that we're going to have to allocate resources in a way that maximizes our opportunities.
You've seen now the Tea Party exert some major influence in several races. This is the latest. Obviously, Kentucky, Rand Paul went over the choice of the Republican establishment. He was able to win there. And in Florida, it's created a three-way race. On balance, has the Tea Party been a negative for Republicans in terms of shaping these candidates and pushing you further to the right maybe than you'd want in a general election?
I think the Tea Party movement has been very positive. These are people who have not necessarily been involved in organized politics before, who've gotten off the couch and they've become energized by the aggressive Washington agenda of spending and debt. New York Times, I think it was, did a poll recently, said 57% of independents are sympathetic with the Tea Party movement. So I know on the left they'll try to vilify them, they'll try to demonize them, they'll try to suggest that these are people who are fringe characters, but these are mainstream Americans who want to take their country back. And I say they're welcome, certainly, to work with us to do that in the Republican Party.
And I just want to get your take overall on sort of the volatility that we see in the electorate right now. You were talking about a lot of that anger that we've seen out there, and we've seen now some, I think we're done with more than half of the primary season at this point, Senator. Is that volatility in any way, you see that purely as a negative for the Democrats, or no, there's something that you guys in the Republican Party have to guard against as well there?
Well, we've certainly had our casualties too. People like Bob Bennett out in Utah, who was beaten even though he's running for re-election. There's a lot of anger that's directed toward Washington and toward the disconnect between the heartland of America and the lectures they've been receiving here in Washington, with politicians telling them that we know better than you what's good for you. So I think because Democrats are in power, because President Obama is in the White House, I think most of this is going to be directed against Democrats. But I would suggest to anyone on the ballot in 2010, they better be listening and they better be responding to the public and delivering them what they're demanding, which is more representation and less big government and more debt.
Senator, I want to ask you about the news coming out of the United Nations today, the Obama White House calling for a new round of sanctions against Iran, bringing that to the Security Council today. We've waited quite some time to see what the administration response has been. Is this, to your mind, robust enough? Is it likely to make a difference?
Well, I wish I was optimistic. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think there's so many loopholes in these sanctions that it's not going to be effective to deter Iran from its nuclear ambitions. I think our best bet is to continue to encourage and support the pro-democracy forces with Iran itself, something which I don't think the administration has done very much of, and which we need to do more of to help the people of Iran to retake their country from the mullahs and from the extremism that we see represented now. And
can I just ask you kind of maybe this is like a dorky political question here, but the day after a primary, what happens in coordination with the NRSC? Have you talked to Sharon Angle? What happens in terms of coordination, kind of introductions, trying to make sure that she knows what resources are available to her?
Well, I placed a call to her. I got her voicemail, but I'm sure we'll be talking to her today. Just as we did in Kentucky and elsewhere, we've reached out to all of our nominees and offered all of our help. Now, they may or may not want our help, but we're here if they want it. And of course, many of these candidates are first-time candidates, or certainly at this level and with this kind of visibility. Right. And we want to make sure they have all the resources they need to put their very best foot forward and win pickup seats in November.
Will part of your message when you get her on the phone say lay off that eliminating the Department of Energy thing?
No, we're not going to talk about policy. We're going to talk about, do you have the campaign manager you need? Do you have the pollster and those sorts of things? You know, winning election is not rocket science, but it does take some discipline, does take some organization. That's what we will hope to add value to.
Senator John Cornyn, Chairman of the NRSC, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.